Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin, this is my adorable co-host Teddy, and today we're going to be putting up this Gigabyte G1 Gaming GTX 1060 up against the Asus Strix RX 580. So this is a real hot button comparison. So it doesn't matter really which one you recommend, as a lot of people will get grumpy either way. But hey, let's do something real crazy here today, guys. It's really revolutionary. Let's look at the numbers. Let's see how they perform, what numbers they put up, and then let's draw a conclusion based off those numbers. How about that, okay? That makes it nice and fair, doesn't it? Okay? I know it sounds crazy, but that's what we're going to be doing here today to make it as fair as possible. But it's always fair and balanced here on Tech Showdown. So let's start with the GPUs you get in these guys. So we'll start with the 1060. Now that comes with the 16nm GP106 Pascal GPU, and that has 1280 CUDA cores. Over on the RX 580, you're getting the 14nm Polaris 20 GPU with 2304 stream processors. Now let's talk about speeds then. So over on the 1060 with GPU Boost 3.0, it goes up to 2000 MHz, so that's really hauling along there. The RX 580 in its OC mode will go up to 1380 MHz, which is still quite respectable, but you see a big advantage there in clock speed for the GTX 1060. Now TDP wise, the 1060 is coming with a 120 watt TDP, the RX 580 is coming with a 185 watt TDP, so a bit of a discrepancy there also. Memory wise, the RX 580 is coming with 8 GB of GDDR5 memory at 8000 MHz on a 256-bit bus. The 1060 on the other hand is coming with 6 GB, so 2 gigs less, at 8000 MHz, so the same speed, on a 192-bit bus, so a bit of a difference there also. Now quickly, let's go over the coolers. I suggest you go back and watch the unboxing and overview videos if you want to see more about these coolers and the features of these graphics cards. So you see the G1 Gaming here, this is what I call like the 2X WindForce design. Two fans there, pretty decent size, 90mm. It's got a good length to it overall, but this card isn't the most beefy cooler out there, but it does a pretty decent job, and of course the 1060's TDP is lower than the RX 580's. The RX 580 here, the Strix, is absolutely massive. It's obviously a triple fan design, but it's got huge aluminium heat sinks, much thicker card than the GTX 1060. They both have very nice backplates there. The Strix has more lighting on it, but in general, the Strix is just a much beefier card than the G1 Gaming 1060. So with all that being said and done, let's jump into the benchmarks and see how these two graphics cards perform. So I've tried to make this as fair as possible, and I'm doing the most amount of benchmarks I've ever done in any video or any showdown on this channel. So we're going to be doing 10, and that's going to be a mix of older games, newer games, DX11, DX12, I've put a couple of DX12 games in there, synthetics, and also low requirement games and high requirement games to really see what these two GPUs can do. So let's jump in and check it out. it was pretty close in a lot of those benchmarks. Some went to the 580, some went to the 1060. Pretty much what I expected to happen. So let's add all of those benchmarks together and get the average FPS for these two graphics cards. So the GTX 1060's average FPS was 57.8 and the RX 580's average FPS was 59. So it's about 2% faster for the Asus Strix RX 580 here. And that's very interesting, but it's pretty much not going to make any difference. No one would be able to notice that difference. And as you saw in some games, the RX 580 would win by quite a bit, and in other games, the 1060 would win quite a bit. So these cards are very, very even when it comes to performance, and they go blow for blow depending on which game you are playing. But yeah, performance-wise, it's pretty much a tie, but I still have to give it to the RX 580. It's still a win, even though it's very, very, very slight. Now, performance isn't everything. Let's check out the temps. So obviously the Strix has a pretty massive advantage here, given that the cooler is just massive by comparison to the G1 Gaming. Some might say it's humongous. So for this, I did the Unigine Valley benchmark, like always on the Extreme HD preset. I recorded the highest temperature they went up to and also the highest fan speed. So the good old G1 Gaming GTX 1060 here went all the way up to 64 degrees Celsius at 43% fan speed, which is a very respectable score. The Strix 580 here, with its humongous cooler, went to 54 degrees Celsius at 44% fan speed. So 10 degrees less for 1% extra fan speed for the Strix RX 580. Now, I'm not going to act like I was extremely shocked by that, given the huge cooler this has. It's, you know, to be expected. But that's still a very, very solid win here for the RX 580, and it's very impressive that this card can stay in the 50-degree range. That's going to give you so much overclocking headroom if you want to go absolutely crazy with overclocking on this graphics card. Now let's talk about noise, because this was a bit closer. So a lot of people will tell you that the G1 Gaming or any Gigabyte card in general are just, you know, really, really bad for coil whine. And I've tested so many graphics cards now, I can't even, probably like over 100. Over the whole time I've been doing this channel, I've tested so many GPUs, probably more than most of you guys will ever own in your entire life. And I cannot say for a second that I have found that to be true. It seems like coil whine will get into any graphics card out there, and that was certainly the case when it came to these two GPUs, because both of them were as bad as each other when it came to coil whine. But in terms of general noise, they're about even. I couldn't actually tell any difference. They were both pretty good in terms of noise. But I'll let you guys judge for yourself. So this was once again taken during the Unigine Valley benchmark on the Extreme HD preset. I'll show you what the GTX 1060 here sounded like first, and then I'll show you what the RX 580 sounded like. So yeah, very even between these two graphics cards. I couldn't really tell much of a difference, and as I said, the coil whine was about even with both of them. So I think Gigabyte gets a bit of a bum rap with people saying it. It seems like one of those things that maybe a few people started saying, and then people that had never even owned a Gigabyte card just started saying also. But yeah, in my experience, I haven't noticed that Gigabyte cards are any worse for it than any other brand of graphics card. They all seem to do it. You know, it's like a hit or miss thing. Sometimes you get a card that does it, sometimes you get ones that don't. It's just one of those things. Which brings us now to the conclusion and which one of these graphics cards wins this showdown. So we have to bring price into the equation. And at Playtech right now in New Zealand, you can get the Gigabyte G1 Gaming GTX 1060 for 479 New Zealand dollars. The Asus Strix RX 580 on the other hand will cost you $20 more at 499 New Zealand dollars. So which one of these graphics cards do I recommend keeping that pricing in mind? And I also looked overseas, and that seemed to be about the same case no matter where I looked. The Strix 580 is slightly more expensive than the G1 Gaming GTX 1060. So With that in mind, I still have to say that the Asus Strix RX580 wins this showdown, and I'll give you my reasoning. Performance-wise, we saw that they're pretty much the same. The Strix does win, but it's very, very marginal, and they seem to go blow for blow depending on which game you are playing. Temperatures-wise, the Strix wins. That was pretty obvious given that this is a huge cooler that this guy has. And noise-wise, they're about the same. But it's a simple fact that you just get much more for your money with the Strix RX580. This is a much bigger and better cooler than the G1 Gaming. It has more features, more lighting, and overall just seems like the superior card in terms of this model. Not only that, you're getting 2 GB extra video memory, and we have to bring FreeSync into this. FreeSync monitors here in New Zealand, you can pick them up at Playtech. Like, they start at about the $250 mark from memory. And that's pretty cheap to get in on FreeSync. G-Sync, by comparison, if you were to go with the GTX1060, the cheapest one Playtech has, G-Sync monitor, is like $650. So that's a big discrepancy there. And FreeSync, in my mind, and G-Sync are very, very similar in terms of what they like to use. I've used plenty of FreeSync and G-Sync monitors, and I know you can get very technical with it, but just coming from a purely just using them perspective, they're both as good as each other, to me anyways. I said in my FreeSync versus G-Sync video that I thought FreeSync was better just because you don't have that sort of additional tax, you should say, the G-Sync tax of having to pay that extra money because there's that module that needs to be installed in the monitors from the factory. So yeah, I would give it to the RX580. That is the winner of the showdown in my mind, because when we compare these two models, you just get more for your money with the Asus Strix RX580. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you agree with it? I mean, the GTX1060 definitely has its positive sides too, such as power draw and things like that. But I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you agree with my opinion between these two graphics cards? Do you think the RX580 is bigger? Bigger? Well, it is in this case. Do you think it's better? Or do you think the GTX1060 is better? Let me know in the comment section down below and give me your reasoning also. I really want to read and hear what you guys have to say when it comes to these two graphics cards. Now, I thank you all for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, Tech Showdown, if you haven't already, because I got some really good showdowns coming up. So you definitely want to be subscribed to me to catch those videos as soon as they drop. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.